when we looked at video of what was going on in northern Ethiopia at these refugee camps, we noticed that these kids were literally kicking around cloth balls or coconuts sometimes in the field. And so we both have boys at home, and we have an abundance of sports balls, footballs, soccer balls, basketballs, and we thought, this would be a good place. They go to good use. So we each brought 2 or 3 balls with us, and we decided to hand them out on the road during our journey through Ethiopia.
Yeah, packed as many balls as I could into my suitcase, deflated them and packed them in there as many as I could fit. But I mean, I had thought about that too, about the seeing kids kicking around a coconut and thought, oh wow, that's really rough. But of all the things that you would think that you could take, they're in such need of all these other things, you kind of feel weird about, well, maybe we should take some soccer balls. But it was something we could do, and I think it's something that's important to have too, is just a ball to play with. It means so much to them just to be able to do that.
Well, the first balls we gave out, we've been shooting up in the hills back at the refugee camp, and these kids were hanging around watching us shoot, and John gave the ball to this, just before we left in our van, he gave the ball to this one little boy. It was with his, I don't know if they were his sisters, but the other kids were all crowded around. And I just remember this vision when we pulled away, that the sister grabbing the ball from the little boy and running through the field, kicking the ball, and all the other kids chasing her through the field with this ball.
Yeah, it was a great moment just to see them immediately, take to it and just have a riot with it. It was great.
And then I remember the one little girl who watched us shoot in the field, and she just stood there and was fascinated, I think, by what we were doing. And I just walked over to give her this ball, and she didn't know quite what to do. And
I think she was even sure that you were giving it to her.
Yes.
She had that kind of look on her face, what am I supposed to do with this? And then I don't think it even dawned on her until we actually drove away, and she went, I'm keeping this.
Yeah. And again, the last thing I remember seeing is her running across the field with this ball in her hands as we were running along.
We had driven through this very impoverished-looking town, and we had to stop because there was a checkpoint. And at one point, there was a bunch of kids around, and camels and all kinds of, there were dirt floors and stick huts and things like that. And we gave a soccer ball to this little group of kids, and they were all pretty over the moon about it. And then we drove off to the refugee camp, and we did our stuff. And as it turned out, we had to come back the next day and stop at the same checkpoint on the way back. And when we stopped there, the kids all recognized our van, I guess, and they kind of crowded around. And at some point, an older woman came out and started literally yelling at us.
Screaming. The minute the van door slid open, she just started screaming at us into the van. And then she
not in English, by the way.
Right, not in English, so we weren't sure.
We had a translator, though.
Right, but she's screaming, and she literally threw the ball into the van, and we looked at our translator and said, what's going on? And to show me, our translator said, guess. And apparently this ball had been causing all kinds of issues in this little hamlet amongst these kids, and the mother had just had it.
Kids weren't doing their work. They were just playing with a ball, and so we created this little domestic issue with our soccer ball. So we actually tried to give away a soccer ball and couldn't.
It came back to us.
It came back to us,
so,
and then it soon found a home.
Yeah. Later on, we found a home in Axum, in a town in northern Ethiopia.
Yeah, I had the thought too that it's I kind of weighed the decision on whether or not I should take soccer balls or not, because, as I said, there was so many other needs that these kids might have, but it was something we could do. And I was also concerned that if we started just lobbing soccer balls out of the van, you'd start to create fights. Maybe they try and covet the ball, and somebody would, who knows what's gonna happen. But in the end, we were really careful about how we kind of gave it to kids, and I made sure to tell them, it's hey, there's the rule, only one rule, everybody plays, right? And as long as they had that down, they were big smiles on their faces. So it was a great thing to do.
Kids are the same no matter where they live, no matter where in the world they're from, and you give them a ball and they're happy. And it was a little thing, and in the scheme of things, it wasn't a grand thing at all. But it was just some small thing that we could do. Yeah.